Hey everyone, it's Harry from Hotspur TV back with another match reaction video. Tottenham Hotspur 2, Man United 2. Where should we begin? So let's talk about the starting lineup first of all, as normal. So the back four, or five, as people call it, kind of picked itself. Spence came back in, and obviously Romero and Van de Ven were obviously going to be opposite and half pairing. And Porro was on the right, and Vicario in the middle. We'll talk about him a bit later. Midfield, Paulino got the nod ahead of Bentancur, but Sarr retained his spot, and Xavi stayed in the 10. But Richarlison made a return on the left. He did actually start on the left originally in the game. Marnie in the middle, and Johnson on the right. Now, United, I'm only going to mention this quickly. Sesko didn't play. He came on late on as a substitute, and he played Diallo in like the right forward role, and Cunha was kind of like the false nine, and Mbeumo was playing on the left. I thought it was quite interesting because Mbeumo has played a lot on the right this season for United, and Cunha hasn't really played in that false nine yet. But I guess that's probably kind of a bit tactical, a bit not tactical, because Diallo can only really do a job, I think, on the right for them anyway in that position. I thought it was quite interesting, mainly because I think Sesko was, in a sense, a forced change because I think it was an Amorim personal problem. But at the same time, it may have kind of helped them in the wrong in the game. So let's get into it. Well, Spurs huffed and puffed a lot in the first 20-30 minutes, but United got a goal kind of on the break. Ball into Mbeumo. Mbeumo actually misheaded it, if that's the right word to describe the chance he had. But he came back out, the ball went back in, and Mbeumo heads it in, and it's 1-0 to Man United. Now Spurs really struggled, as we have a lot at home, to try and break United down. This obviously wasn't helped the fact that United do play a back five, really, when they don't have the ball. And Bruno was playing really far back, which is quite interesting. But fast tactically, we were overloading the right this time instead of midweek when it overloaded the left. Whether that was down to team selection or a bit of both, I don't know. It's tactical, a bit of both, because Johnson and Porro seemed to have most of our attacks. And we weren't really effective with it. Johnson's crossing was, again, really bad. Porro didn't really find enough space to do any damage. Xavi, despite I thought he was probably our best player in the first half. His attempts to try and create something, there wasn't really anything there. Richarlison wasn't really offering anything on the left. And I wouldn't have been unhappy with taking off at half time because he just wasn't offering anything. And Moani had little to no service, unlike the game midweek. And it seemed like the team selection that he made was not working. Now, many people point to the Udogie Odobert thing. Odobert's not been everyone's cup of tea lately. And I'm about to talk about him in a minute, but I found that quite interesting because we obviously, since Son's left, we've implied every week that we have no left winger. And for me, I think Odobert's probably our best option on paper. At least he's a winger, and at least he's somewhat decent on the left. But in midweek, him and Udogie really linked up well. And this is, I guess, the point, the fact that people wanted Udogie and Odobert on the left again. And they did eventually come on. I think Odobert came on at half-time, made an immediate impact. He was causing United problems down that side. In fact, statistically speaking, in his 45 minutes that he played in that half, he had the most take-ons and most created chances, among other higher statistics that I can't remember right now. And he really made a difference. And of course, Udogie coming later on after that did make a difference too. But Spurs only scored a goal, or in fact the equaliser, when Xavi came off for Tell. Now, me among others was very disappointed in Xavi coming off. Like I said, I think he was probably our best player till that point. Not that he created that much, but he just was at least trying to do something. But Tell came on, and we sort of went to like a 4-4-2. I see there's a Paulino Bentancur swap as well, like later on as well, but that's beside the point. And Tell scores out of kind of nothing. It was a slight deflection, but yeah, I'll give him some credit for that because I thought the movement for the goal was quite nice. And he's taken his chances. And to be fair to Tell, when he started his last game up front, or was it the game before? But yes, Leeds, yeah, he started up front against Leeds, he scored, and kind of again, there's a deflected goal. But he came on against United and he scored, to be fair to him. So I think he knows that he has to take his chances, otherwise he's not going to get game time, especially with Odebert's turn of form, and how much an impact Odebert made when he came off those 45 minutes, plus the midweek game. So he knows if he's going to start, especially bear in mind our strikers are either unfit with Mwani or just not that great with Richarlison. Now, obviously, Richarlison gets the second goal after Tell missed the kind of another half chance. But he gets another goal, Richarlison, from actually an Odebert cross. Quite a nice cross, actually. Whether it was going in or not, I'd have to look at it again. But Richarlison touches it with kind of like his hair. Then it goes in, makes 2-1. And we literally have 5 minutes left after this. After the huffing and puffing and finally bring a breakthrough against United, we're 2-1 up. And then they get a corner and they score off the corner. Of course, Vicario gets the blame. And for someone like me who has been very critical of Vicario, this is my biggest gripe with him. These corners, especially in the Premier League, bear in mind this is like this third year, I think, in the Premier League. You need to come out and be strong, and we just let the ball go in. He stayed on his line. Okay, there was no one marking De Ligt on the far post, but should the ball have got to that point? I don't know. Who was supposed to be marking De Ligt? I don't know, but United get equalised and it's 2-2. And after that, the game was over. So, again, our home form is not improved. Okay, we beat Copenhagen, and it was great that we got to 2-1. But I feel like, to me, we need to really need that one home game where we win. Maybe like a landslide. Of course, we beat Burnley in the first game of the season at home. But, I mean, like beating like a semi-decent team. Of course, I think our next home game is actually Fulham at home after North London derby, which unfortunately I'm looking at it as like our first away loss of the season. But there were some positives. But the Udogie Odebert thing, I think, is our best option on the left right now. Obviously, despite me and others criticising Odebert a lot, I think he's kind of grown the past 2 weeks. I'm not saying he's perfect, and he's still quite young, but there might be at least something there. I think there might be something there with him, especially if he has some sort of understanding with Udogie. On the right, of course, we need Kudus back as soon as possible. Johnson was, again, like not that great on the right, and he didn't really put anyone else out there, so I can't really talk about that. In the midfield, I think the Paulinho or Bentancur thing at home is probably the best way to go, especially with Sarr back. So I think Sarr, even though he's not amazing right now, like at least he's offering us some progression with the ball. Like he'll carry it and he'll put up the pitch or put it to the side or switch the play at least. And in defence, it was just going to be what it is, right? In the end, Romero had to come off with an injury. We'll see how much of an injury it is because of the international break. And Danso came on the last 5 minutes, but it's not worth talking about. But for me, the set pieces is down to Vicario. The goal they scored is just poor marking. If you watch the goal again, no one's become Brainwood despite there being like 2 or 3 players around him, which is really poor. But United, to give them credit, they showed resilience, and this is what I've noticed this season under Amrim. Like they're way better than they were last season. It does help that he's got 3 new attackers, which probably walk into our team more than likely, especially Cunha. I mean, the guy's class. And then Bueno, obviously, because it's Frank's man. But we don't have those options. So Frank can only deal with what he's got. I mean, Tell and Odebert. Like I said, Odebert's definitely the best of the two, even though Tell's the one who scored today. He just has to work with what he's got. And I think so far with what he's got, he's actually done all right. But could we have done better today? Could we have won the game? I think we probably deserve to win. But I guess a draw is better than nothing. And I guess to fix our home form, we've got Fulham at home next on a Saturday night, actually. Yeah. It's the last game, I think, of November, actually. Yeah, last game of November. We have to go win that. We have to win that. We have to fix his home form. But next up, we'll North London derby, and it's international break, and come on, you Spurs.